Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and Clement Stone. Picture this. It's nearly midnight in Chicago. A young man named S.B. Fuller is cruising down 61st Street, his heart hammering against his ribs like it's trying to escape. He needs $10,000. Not tomorrow, not next week, by sunrise. He's already scraped together $25,000 from every friend, loan shark, and investor he could find, but he's still short. And if he doesn't close this deal in the next few hours, he loses everything. So there he is, alone in his car, whispering a prayer into the darkness. "Just show me a sign," he pleads. One sign. Then he makes himself a promise. "I'll drive until I see the first light in any business. That's where I'll go." Block after block slides by, nothing but shadows and locked doors. Then, there, a single bulb glowing in a contractor's office. It's 11 at night. Fuller parks, takes a breath that could fill a balloon, and walks inside. There's a guy he barely knows, hunched over paperwork, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Fuller walks right up to him and asks the gutsiest question of his life. "Want to make $1,000? That question, fired off in a moment of pure desperation and wild faith, launches an empire. But here's the thing. The real story isn't about the cash. It's about whatever invisible force guided Fuller to that one lit window in a sea of darkness. Today, we're diving into a book that's been a quiet powerhouse for millions. Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and Clement Stone. This isn't your typical feel-good fluff. It's more like a treasure map to a power you already own but might have forgotten how to use. By the time we're done, you'll understand the one simple secret that separates the achievers from the dreamers, an invisible force that can either pull success, wealth, and joy towards you like a magnet, or push them away. It's not fantasy magic, but it might be the closest thing to real magic you'll ever find. And here's the kicker. You're carrying it with you right this second. So what's this invisible force that seemed to guide S.B. Fuller on that lonely Chicago street? Hill and Stone have a name for it. They call it your invisible talisman. Imagine you've got a smooth little stone in your pocket. You can't see it, but you always know it's there. On one side, carved in bright, shimmering letters, PMA. On the flip side, scratched in dull, heavy letters, NMA. PMA, that's positive mental attitude. NMA, negative mental attitude. This talisman is your mind, and every single moment, you're choosing which side faces up. That choice determines pretty much everything. When PMA is facing up, it works like a magnet for all the good stuff. Wealth, success, happiness, health. It's what gave Fuller the nerve to ask a near stranger for $10,000 at midnight. He'd flipped his talisman to PMA. He had faith, a crystal clear goal, and he took action. The contractor felt that electric energy and said yes. Fuller got his money, bought that company, and built an empire that eventually included 7 more businesses. But flip the talisman to NMA, and it's just as powerful, in the opposite direction. It repels everything good. It keeps people stuck at the bottom or drags them down just as they're reaching the top. The authors share this wild little story about a woodcutter to prove the point. This guy was chronically unsuccessful, always finding the cloud instead of the silver lining. For years he'd delivered firewood to this homeowner, but one day he drops off logs that are way too big for the fireplace. The homeowner calls and politely asks him to split them. The woodcutter, running full NMA mode, snaps back. "I can't do that. It costs more than the whole load," and he hangs up. So the homeowner grabs an axe and does it himself. While he's splitting, he notices one log feels weird, super light, almost hollow, One swing, and it cracks open. Out tumbles a blackened roll of tinfoil. Inside, old $50 and $100 bills, over $2,000. The homeowner, a full-on PMA guy, immediately wants to return it. He calls the wood dealer and asks where the wood came from, hoping to track down the rightful owner. But the woodcutter's NMA fires up again. "That's nobody's business but mine," he grumbles. "You give away secrets, people cheat you." The PMA man found the fortune. The NMA man, who literally carried the log with the cash, repelled it without even knowing. Good luck happens to everyone. But someone stuck in negative mental attitude will block those lucky breaks every time. Someone with positive mental attitude, they'll flip even the worst disasters into advantages. Which brings us to one of the most electric ideas in the entire book. A line worth tattooing on your brain. Every adversity has the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Read that again. It's not just look on the bright side. It's a law. Hidden in every problem, every failure, every heartbreak, there's a seed. If you've got the right attitude, you can find it and plant it. You might be thinking, sure, easy to say, but what if you've got a real physical handicap? How's attitude supposed to help then? Let me tell you about Tom Dempsey. Tom was born without half of his right foot and only a stub where his right arm should be. As a kid, all he wanted was to play sports, especially football. So his parents had a custom wooden foot made for him, fitted into a stubby football shoe. Tom practiced. Hour after hour. Day after day. Kicking, kicking, kicking. He worked until he could nail field goals from distances that made coaches' jaws drop. Eventually, the New Orleans Saints signed him. Then came the moment, final 2 seconds of the game, 66,000 fans screaming. Tom Dempsey, the guy with the so-called crippled leg, lines up and launches a 63-yard field goal, the longest in professional football history at the time. Saints win, 19-17. The opposing coach muttered, "We were beaten by a miracle." But was it a miracle? Or was it a kid who looked at his adversity and saw a seed? That wooden foot, his supposed weakness, became his superpower. He had burning desire, relentless practice, and a positive mental attitude. He found the seed and grew a forest. The book is packed with stories like this, but they all circle back to one truth. Before you can change your world, you've got to change yourself. Here's a fun little story. A minister's trying to finish his sermon on a rainy Saturday. His young son is bouncing off the walls, interrupting every 5 seconds. Desperate, the minister finds a magazine with a big, colorful map of the world, tears it into dozens of pieces, scatters them on the floor, and says, "Son, put this map back together, and I'll give you a quarter." He figures this'll buy him at least a couple hours. 10 minutes later, the kid knocks on the door with the puzzle perfectly done. The minister's stunned. "How'd you do that so fast?" "Oh, it was easy," the boy says. "On the back of the map there was a picture of a man. I just put the man together. I figured if I got the man right, the world would be right. If you get the man right, the world will be right." That's the essence of this book. We blame the world constantly. I never had a chance. Wrong neighborhood. Bad education. We point fingers at everything outside ourselves. But Hill and Stone argue the problem isn't out there. It's in here. The world you experience is a mirror of your inner attitude. And here's the wild part. You were born to win. The authors remind us that before you even existed, you won an insane battle. Out of tens of millions of possibilities, only one, the fastest, healthiest, strongest, made it. You. At conception, you were already a champion against staggering odds. Victory is literally coded into your DNA. But somewhere along the way, we forget. Life smacks us around a few times, and we start believing we're destined to lose. We need something to wake up that champion inside. For a young boy named Irving Ben Cooper, that something was a book. Ben grew up dirt poor, near a slum, so broke he'd sneak down to the railroad tracks to pick up fallen coal to heat his house. He lived in terror of a gang of bullies who'd jump him, beat him senseless, and scatter his coal all over the street. He felt weak and ashamed. Then one winter, he discovered the Horatio Alger books, stories about brave young heroes who beat impossible odds with courage and grit. He sat in his freezing kitchen all winter, devouring these stories, unconsciously soaking up positive mental attitude. He started seeing himself not as a victim, but as a hero. A few months later, he's heading to the tracks when he spots the bullies waiting in ambush. His first instinct? Run. But then he remembers those heroes. He grips his coal bucket tighter and marches straight ahead. The fight is brutal. 3 boys jump him. But this time, Ben's not fighting as the scared kid from the slums. He's fighting as one of Alger's heroes. He fights with fury that stuns the bullies. One by one, they turn and bolt. What changed? Ben wasn't physically stronger. The bullies weren't weaker. The only difference was his mental attitude. He identified with a successful image, and it completely rewired his reality. This is a killer technique. When you face a challenge, identify with someone, real or fictional, who has the strength and courage you need. Fight your battle as they would. You'll be shocked at the power it unlocks. But having a positive attitude alone isn't enough. It needs direction. The authors call this the true starting point of all achievement. It's one of their 17 success principles. Definiteness of purpose. 98 out of every 100 dissatisfied people don't have a clear picture of what they actually want. They drift aimlessly, fighting against things they don't want, but never moving towards something they do. Can you state, right now, exactly what you want out of life? The moment you fix your goals, everything shifts. It's like programming a GPS for your subconscious. Once the destination is locked in, your mind starts working on it automatically. You notice opportunities you were blind to before. Work that felt like drudgery becomes fun because you see it as a stepping stone. Your desire becomes a burning desire. Think about Robert Christopher. As a kid, he read Around the World in 80 Days, and it lit a fire in his imagination. As a young man, he read Think and Grow Rich, and a crazy idea hit him. Why can't I go around the world on $80? Most people would laugh that off as fantasy. But Bob had a definite purpose with PMA. He got moving. He wrote down every problem he'd face and started solving them. He made a deal with a pharmaceutical company to collect soil samples. He convinced an airline to fly him across the Atlantic in exchange for publicity photos. He learned that American cigarettes were basically currency in many countries. He took off with exactly $80 in his pocket. He paid for a train ride through the Alps with 4 packs of cigarettes. He got a bus ride to Damascus because a Syrian cop was so thrilled with the photo Bob took of him. He circled the entire globe in 84 days on $80. He pulled it off because he knew exactly what he wanted. His definite purpose acted like a magnet, pulling resources and opportunities straight to him. So the formula starts crystallizing. Positive mental attitude plus definite purpose. But there's a third ingredient, maybe the most crucial, action. And this is where most of us crash and burn. We get inspired, we make plans, we have grand intentions. Then, crickets. The authors have a powerful two-word fix for this: a self-starter to crush procrastination and inertia. That self-starter? Do it now. This isn't just a cute slogan. It's a command you drill into yourself, a habit you forge through repetition. The authors say you should never say "do it now" unless you immediately follow through, even on tiny things. Phone call you've been dodging? Do it now. Alarm goes off and you want to hit snooze? Do it now. Get up. By obeying this command in small moments, you build a reflex. It gets so strong that when emergencies hit or big opportunities appear, you act instinctively, without hesitation. Take Kenneth Harmon, a civilian Navy employee in Manila, when the Japanese invaded during World War II. He was captured and held in a hotel for 2 days before being shipped to a prison camp. His roommate had a book under his pillow, Think and Grow Rich. Kenneth started reading and felt something shift. The despair dissolved. Hope flooded in. He knew he needed this book for the dark days ahead. He couldn't take it, so he asked to copy it. His roommate agreed. Kenneth didn't hesitate. He heard it in his mind. Do it now. He started typing furiously, word by word, page by page, day and night, obsessed with the feeling that he'd be dragged away any second. And he was right. Within an hour of typing the last page, his captors hauled him off to the notorious Santo Tomas prison camp. He finished in time because he started in time. For the next 3 years and 1 month, that manuscript was his lifeline. It gave him courage to survive, strength to stay healthy, and focus to plan his future. He walked out of that camp a better, stronger man, because on that day in the hotel, he acted. He didn't wait, he did it now. This principle of immediate action separates dreamers from doers. But what if you act, you've got a positive attitude, a clear goal, and you still fail? This is where another core idea comes in, the principle of "and something more." Often, the gap between success and failure is one tiny missing ingredient, a small detail everyone else missed. The Wright brothers weren't the only ones trying to build an airplane. Plenty of others came incredibly close using the same principles. But Orville and Wilbur added, quote, "something more." They attached movable flaps to the wing edges, letting the pilot control balance. That simple addition was the difference between crashing and flying. Alexander Graham Bell wasn't the only one inventing a telephone. A guy named Philip Rice had a working device years earlier. He could even sing through it. But he couldn't transmit speech. The problem? He used an intermittent electrical current. Bell added the "something more." He switched to a continuous current. That difference, as the Supreme Court later noted, was the difference between failure and success. When you feel stuck after trying everything, don't quit. Ask yourself, what's the something more? What's the one small tweak, the overlooked detail that could flip everything? Sometimes all it takes is a flash of inspiration. The authors tell a story about R.G. Latouille, a legendary inventor of massive earth-moving equipment. He used to say his greatest asset was his silent senior partner. One night, he's flying home on his private plane and falls asleep. His buddy, Napoleon Hill, watches him suddenly wake up, scribble something in his notebook, and crash back to sleep. When they land, Hill asks if he remembers writing anything. Letourneau has no clue. He checks his notebook and his eyes go wide. "Here it is. I've been hunting for this for months. Here's the answer to the problem that's been blocking my new machine." That flash of inspiration was the something more. The book urges you to always keep a pencil and paper handy. When an idea strikes, capture it immediately. Don't trust memory. That idea might be the missing puzzle piece. Now, as you apply these principles, PMA, definite purpose, action, and the hunt for something more, you'll inevitably face problems. But remember our mantra: every adversity has the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Consider Charlie Ward. Born into poverty, rode the rails as a hobo, hung out with smugglers and thieves, eventually arrested and sent to Leavenworth Penitentiary. He was bitter, furious, vowing to escape. Then, something clicked. He chose to flip his attitude. He decided to stop fighting and become the best prisoner in the joint. He read the Bible daily. He forgave everyone who put him there. He heard a job was opening in the prison power plant. He knew nothing about electricity, but the prison library had books. So he studied, learned everything, got the job. Eventually became superintendent of the power plant, overseeing 150 men. While inside, he befriended another inmate, a prominent businessman named Herbert Bigelow. When Bigelow got out, he told Charlie, "When you're released, come to St. Paul. We'll have a job for you." 5 weeks later, Charlie walked free. He went to St. Paul and started as a laborer making $25 a week. Thanks to PMA, he became foreman in 2 months, then superintendent, then vice president. And when Mr. Bigelow died, Charlie Ward, the ex-con, became president of Brown and Bigelow. Under his leadership, sales exploded from $3 million to over $50 million a year. His prison sentence, his worst adversity, held the seed of his greatest triumph. It forced him to change, educate himself, and meet the man who'd give him a second shot. So if you've got a problem, fantastic, it's an opportunity wearing a disguise. Finally, the authors tackle the ultimate goal of all this effort, a life bursting with wealth, health, and happiness. And they introduce one last beautiful concept: the magnificent obsession. This idea comes from a novel by Lloyd C. Douglas, and it's gorgeously simple. Develop an obsession, a magnificent one, to help other people. Share yourself, your time, your kindness, without keeping score. And above all, keep your good deeds secret. If you do this, you set a universal law in motion. Try as hard as you want to avoid it. Blessings and rewards will rain down on you. You don't need wealth or power to have a magnificent obsession. The book tells of a self-described sinner who was asked for a small donation to the Boys' Clubs of America. He rudely threw the representative out of his office. As the guy was leaving, he turned and said kindly, "You may not want to share with the needy, but I'll share with you part of what I have, a prayer. May God bless you." A few days later, the sinner showed up at the rep's office with a check for $500,000, on one condition: his name must never be revealed. He wanted to help boys avoid his mistakes, but he didn't want recognition for doing something good. His magnificent obsession wasn't about applause. It was about secretly making the world better. This is the final piece. When you mix positive mental attitude with definite purpose, take immediate action, hunt for something more, and channel it all through a magnificent obsession to serve others, you don't just hit success. You find fulfillment. You attract not just money but richness of spirit. You discover not just happiness but deep, lasting joy. You wake up the sleeping giant inside. Stepping back from success through a positive mental attitude. What grabs me is how disarmingly simple yet devastatingly profound the core message is. In a world that often feels tangled and overwhelming, Hill and Stone strip it down to the one thing we always control: the attitude we choose in any situation. The invisible talisman metaphor, PMA on one side, NMA on the other, hits hard because it's so immediate. It reminds us that every single moment we're making a choice. Are we flipping up the side that magnetizes opportunity, resilience, and joy, or the side that repels them? What makes this book timeless is it's not peddling quick fixes or shortcuts. It's about building fundamental character, a way of moving through the world. The 17 success principles aren't just a to-do list. They're different angles of a single, powerful mindset. Things like definiteness of purpose, going the extra mile, and learning from defeat are all positive mental attitude in action. The stories breathe life into these ideas. When you hear about Charlie Ward transforming himself in a prison cell, or Tom Dempsey nailing a record field goal with a wooden foot, you realize these aren't just theories. They're real strategies real people use to conquer impossible odds. They prove our circumstances don't define us. Our response does. And that call to action, the simple, thunderous command, "Do it now," cuts through every excuse. It's a challenge to stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect mood, and just begin. So much of life vanishes in the gap between intention and action, and that two-word mantra is the bridge. So how can you start using this wisdom today, right now? Let me throw out 3 small challenges. First, for the next 24 hours, practice the mantra. Every adversity has the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. When something goes sideways today, missed bus, tough conversation, annoying mistake, don't just shrug it off. Pause and ask, where's the seed? What's the lesson or opportunity hiding in this mess? Just looking for it will start shifting your perspective. Second, pick one small but important thing you've been putting off. Maybe it's homework, cleaning your room, or a call you've been dreading. Next time it crosses your mind, say out loud with force, "Do it now!" Then take just the first tiny step. Don't worry about finishing. Just start. Third, tomorrow morning, before you even roll out of bed, try Jerry Awesome's simple affirmation. Say it loud, with all the energy you can muster. I feel healthy. I feel happy. I feel terrific. It might feel goofy at first, but you're sending a direct command to your subconscious to set the tone for your entire day. That's a solid place to begin. So that's the book summary of Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. We've covered some core ideas today, but here's the truth. A summary is like staring at a map of a gorgeous country. The map shows you landmarks, but it can't give you the feeling of sun on your face or waves crashing on the shore. The real magic happens when you take the trip yourself. This summary is here to help you decide if this journey's worth taking. If any of these stories or ideas sparked something in you, grab a copy of the book. Reading it isn't just gaining knowledge. It's an experience that can genuinely shift how you see yourself and the world. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you something to chew on, do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe. It tells me this work matters, and it makes sure you don't miss our next dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep growing together.